Kibet.
Yes.
Please tell us about yourself.
I'm a communication student at Daystar, and as you had introduced me earlier, I'm a recovering drug addict now, 5 years clean. Yes.
Where do you go to Daystar? What do you do at Daystar?
I study communication.
Communications.
Yes.
So this is your passion.
Yes.
Are you into music also?
Yes, actually, yeah, I'm a musician.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Now, what led you to your addiction?
I'd say, okay, before addiction, there was the starting, whereby maybe I could call it the drinking, the casual drinking, you know. And this one, it was actually a notion, a misguided notion when I first joined college. Because after I finished high school, that was in 2009, I visited my sister at campus in Eldoret. And so when I visited her and I saw that kind of freedom, because for 2 weeks, the 2 weeks that she was hosting me, you know, she was so free. I mean, she wasn't going to class, no one was following her. And so this got into my mind. I was like, by the time I'm going to campus, I want to experience the same freedom. Yes. And indeed, that same year, 2010, I joined campus, and I knew now drinking is, I mean, campus is where to be free. I had my own hostel, and so I knew drinking was the in thing. I mean, even campus, you have to drink. Right. Yeah. So
were your parents very strict with you? Is this why you just felt like you needed your freedom?
I wouldn't say they were so strict, except that, no, like in high school, I was in day school. So like all my life, I was under their watch and their care. Now, for the first time in my life, I'd now gone to my own hostel now. I wasn't really under their watch. Okay. Yeah. And what drugs were you abusing? Marijuana and alcohol. Those are my drugs of choice. Those were your drugs of choice. Yeah. How many times would you drink alcohol in a week or in a day? Again, it was progressive, because when I first joined campus, like the first semester, it was very controlled, I'd say, because we'll only drink on weekends and we'll do it as a group, you know. But it became progressive. It got to a point where now it was daily. I wouldn't care whether it's a weekend or a weekday. But no, the actual starting, it was actually controlled. And I was actually performing well in my in class, in my exams. Okay. So I could do it, I could balance the two. Okay, and what about marijuana? How did you get into that? So marijuana, actually, I started doing marijuana later in the years, because you see, 2010 is when I started drinking. I went on in 2011, but in 2011, something happened in my life which was a major challenge, so to speak. I got into depression, and it's out of this depression that I started using marijuana, and I even increased my consumption of alcohol. Okay. And how did you know that you were addicted to these two choices of drugs, alcohol and marijuana? I never knew I was addicted. I didn't know anything about addiction. Okay. In fact, I lived my life knowing I'm still cool, you know. Yes. For me, everything was just cool. Okay. Although there were some incidents where, you know, like someone who we drink with is like, hey, you guy. And my nickname those days was Mchanga. Mchanga? Yeah, Mchanga. What does Mchanga mean? Mchanga. A young one or what? So Mchanga, if you translate it to English, it's soil. Okay. And from the word soil, you get so ill. Ah, get it. Wow, okay. Yeah, it was genius. So ill. Yeah. And so, right. Yeah, they will come to me. And so you see, the drill here is that this guy, see at any Holy Joe or something, yes. This is a person who drinks, yes. But they're coming to me telling me, Mchanga maze, sikwambi uwache, but at least punguza. That's something that now, many years later, I think about it, and I was like, myself, I didn't say I had a problem, but the people around me saw I had a problem. Okay. But myself, I never thought I was addicted. Wow. Yeah. Okay, now Dr. Silas, who you're also a psychologist. Yes. How does one get to know that they're addicted to drugs? Because he's saying that he didn't even know that he was addicted. To him, he was doing cool things. Whatever his friends were doing, he was okay. So how does one get to know, like, I need to stop?
What happens for you to be able to know that actually you're addicted? First of all, you need to be in a state that you're not able to control your drinking. At times you say, I'm going for 1 or 2, and then finally you drink like the whole night or the whole day, and you cannot just control yourself. There are key things that we focus on, particularly when doing the assessment for addiction, and I ask people whether they have had issues with stopping. Okay. they themselves trying to stop and they are not able. Secondly, I want to know whether somebody or whoever is addicted has had any conflict with other people as far as stopping the drinking is concerned, whereby there are people who are asking you to stop, but because you're not stopping, then you enter into conflict. And the third category that I focus on is whether when you wake up early in the morning, is it the first thing that you want to do, to go and drink, what they normally say here, kutoa lock. So you wake up in the morning and you feel like the first thing you want to do is kutoa lock. So at that time, you realize actually you're addicted.
Okay.
Yes.
And did your family know that you were using these drugs?
Yes, at some point they knew about it, as much as I tried to hide it, but they eventually knew about it because, again, other characteristics of addiction, which also happened with me, was that I couldn't finance my drinking. It got to a point where it was now expensive.
Yes.
Because you have to drink. Kutoa lock, XP, you have to drink. And the pocket money that I was being given, eventually it became insufficient. So I had to come up with ways of raising money. And what I'll do, I'll go home, like I will call my neighbor and ask him if he sees my parents' vehicle outside the house.
Okay.
So akiniambia gari iko, then I know that my parents aren't there.
Yeah.
And so I'll just make my way home and then pick something, like an electronic appliance, something that's not usually, like kitu yenye tumiki sana. So I just pick it and go sell it.
Okay.
So
And
that
at this point, you didn't know that you were addicted?
for me it was just cool.
When you were selling things from your father's house?
For me, actually, I just thought probably, they should give me more money. I justified everything I was doing, So myself, I didn't really think I had a problem.
Okay. And what is the main reason that you felt like you really needed to change?
I'd say nights in police cells, because I remember I was taken to a police cell twice, the same police station, just near where I stay. And I think it's after the second incident, it's when I realized, I'm taking my parents through a lot of hell. Because that particular incident, it was very, very grievous in the sense that my fingerprints were taken and there was a lot involved. And let me just narrate the story. I drank a whole bottle of 750 ml, like dry liquor.
Wow.
And by the time I realized it, it's like I'd snapped,
Okay.
And the next thing, I was stoning cars along Thika Road.
Wow.
In fact, that year is when Thika Road was being built. So there are those huge rocks. And it's like I just snapped and I started throwing stones. Kwanza ajipiga kifua na jiona yani mimi ule mzee yani,
Yeah.
And the second vehicle happened to be a PSV. And so these guys now, the next thing I knew was that I was being beaten a mob.
Yes.
Because the first car it was a personal car. That one sped off, like maybe they thought it was a thief or something. But this other one, it was a PSV. Na nikaanza kupigwa mob. So it was, it was quite a dangerous situation.
Yes.
In fact, musema it's by God's grace. In fact, musema God ndo tuangalia sisi addict, some of the things we do during addiction. Okay. So at that particular moment, a police officer from the traffic headquarters is the one who intervened and demanded that I be taken to the police station.
Okay.
So there's a lot that happened, because I understand someone took this document, is it a P3, from the police station, because apparently that stone, it broke the window and it injured that guy. Okay. And then the matatu itself, they came up saying that they weren't able to operate that night because of the broken window and stuff.
Yeah.
So the process of being bailed out was such scary,
Yeah.
But it really touched me, as much as nilikuwa mrui and all that.
Yes.
It still touched me that my parents still came back.
Yes.
They still came to
They
me.
were still there for you.
Yeah. So and at that time when I was being bailed out, I told myself, this is the last time I'm using drugs. But then I found myself back at it.
Got back to
Back at it.
Okay. Now, Dr. Silas, what treatment options would you recommend for someone who's going through what he's saying he was going through on that level?
When it comes to addiction, the first thing that we do is, first of all, to accept these people and let them know that whatever it is that they're going through is a illness, it's like a disease. So it's not something that is of their own making. And therefore, at that point, we cannot judge them, we accept them. Once we accept them, then we start using what we call CBT. CBT is cognitive behavioral therapy that helps you to deal with your thoughts and at least to know how you think and your mental schemas and all that, and how your thoughts affect your emotions and how your emotions affect your behavior. So once you create that kind of awareness, then it's possible for you to be able to change, and then we empower you in the process.
Okay.
Yes.
And what about families? What do you advise families? Like he's saying his parents were there for him no matter what he did, even if he took some things out of the house and sold them. What do you advise parents or siblings?
Surprisingly, what happens is that the support system of somebody who is addicted, they suffer more than even the victim themselves or the survivors themselves. And therefore, when we are talking to them, first of all, we want them to look at this addiction as a illness, not as something that he can take fully responsibility. Like, for example, like him, they need to know first this is a illness, and they have been trying, and you can hear what he's saying. He has been trying, and like he was really trying and trying to change, but he was fighting himself back to drinking again. So we want them to take it like a illness, and then from there they chip in and support. Now, in the support, first of all, they need to be non-judgmental as they are supporting. Otherwise, if they judge the person, then maybe those are the thoughts and the emotions that will start going around in their minds, and they find them back to drinking place again. Okay. Yeah, so it's support, and then they need also to know knowledge. I mean, to have some knowledge about what addictions are and the behaviors of people who are addicted, so that they will be able to help better.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now tell us about a campaign that you started. It's called Drugs See Swag.
Yes. Okay, so after all those things that I did, because 2012 was my darkest year, you know, besides the nights in police cells, I had so many afflictions. But eventually, I hit rock bottom, and for me, it was my suspension from college. It was a 1-year suspension, which I got on 3rd September 2012.
Was this due to your addiction?
Yes.
Or? Okay.
Yeah, we were actually caught smoking weed there in the school premises.
Wow.
So this was, it took me really down, because at this time, like my relationships were ruined at home, with God, I was just empty and so lonely. So for like 2 weeks that I was at home, I was completely down. But on 19th September, I was taken to rehab. Okay, it's against my will. It wasn't something that I really wanted. But eventually, I realized that this was an act of love from my parents, taking me to rehab. Because, first thing, and I think Silas will probably talk about rehabilitation centers. Myself, after the depression, I was taken to a psychiatric ward. Even after that incident of the police cell, I was taken for detox. And I was, the 2 times I was there, upon being discharged, I will go back, tell my friends I've been to rehab. I thought that was rehab. And so this, now on 19th September 2012, I was now taken to rehab. I had no idea of what rehab is. So there, I stayed for 91 days. Okay, the program was actually 3 months, but I got an extra 1 day.
Okay.
And actually in rehab is when I realized my talent in writing music.
Wow. So
come 21st December 2012, that's when I was discharged. And my parents supported me in the music that I wanted to pursue. So I left rehab, and those first 6 months I was just doing secular music. But what really triggered me, like what really opened up the idea of doing of this campaign even, was a video producer who I was working with at the moment. So this guy is good. I mean, sio akwa msa kujichocha, because his praises are everywhere. You'll go to any big production company and they know about him. Okay. But this guy, he could never execute. Like even my video, tulishoot, yes, but adi wa leo, I never got that video. Okay. And I thought to myself, this guy is so good, but the reason he can't really perform is because every time we were meeting, zile meetings za kupanga logistics and stuff, the guy would order a drink. In fact, he would make me buy,
okay.
you know.
Yeah.
So I was like, this guy, it must be the alcohol that, I mean, he's so talented, but because of the alcohol, he can't really do his work. Yeah. And so I did my first song called Rock Bottom. And actually, it was a song intended to reach out to people in the music industry, not show them that with your skills and with your talents, you don't need to involve alcohol. In fact, you're just spoiling your talents. So that song was actually the beginning of everything. And Drugs is Swag campaign, it came along after I met my current mentor. He's called Moses Alubala. We met in 2014. So in fact, the same year we did a song with Pumwani Boys called Drugs is Swag. So that was the beginning now of this campaign.
Are you helping people in the campaign? Do you have people that you're helping currently? Yes,
in fact, we've made a lot of progress since that time, because Drugs is Swag campaign, after the song with Pumwani Boys, now we are working one with State House Girls. Okay. I want to continue like the music. And the following year, 2015, we now registered an organization called Triumph Music. And through Triumph Music now, we've been able to do so much. I mean, we've been able to attract so many young people. In fact, in my school in Daystar, I have a lot of support from my lecturers, from students. Yes. So I've been able to attract so many young people, and to even now, in different universities, from wherever they are, they're able to just speak that message. And most recently, we partnered with CITAM to launch Triumph Ministry. So this is a ministry for recovering addicts, because I also realized as a recovering addict, yes, I came from rehab. I've made that decision to turn my life, but still there was that gap where I wasn't going to church. And it's the issue with so many people who've been through addiction. They feel like, and like Daktari said, like parents, most times parents may be judgmental, towards someone who is using drugs, and more so even in the society. So when someone has left rehab, they still have that kind of low self-esteem, and they really don't go to church. So we launched Triumph Ministry, whereby people who are in recovery, people who are still struggling with addiction, can be able to come to church. Okay. Yeah.